We're in. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Hxro Labs Live with your host, RT. Here to talk about markets, talk some smack, look for stuff. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin chop or trend. Last time we talked about how to trade the chop while doing a fairly poor job of it, to be honest. But there's how to do it, and then there's doing it. Knowing how versus doing. Um, two different things. I'm just pulling up YouTube on the side so I can see the chat. If you're wondering why I seem distracted, coming in hot. For those of you who care, baby watch. My boys are at the hospital still. They were supposed to come on Monday or thinking we might. Now they're more looking like Thursday, Friday. So one more week of daily or semi-daily visits without all that crazy waking up in the middle of the night stuff that I'm expecting soon. So, yeah, I was almost going to say one more week of freedom as if I don't want them home, but I actually do. So it'd be nice to have them home. Anyways, balls deep in the trading stuff today. Not as much like in out, trying to nail any kind of move as much as like focusing on the process a little bit. So, funny story. I have a bad habit in trading, and it's closing trades early for whatever reason. And this is not a new thing. I was searching through my journal of past years and I realized, wow, this has been kind of a persistent problem. I've been doing this for a long time. So today I decided to put a stop to it. Now, I used to have something like this years ago when I was also really focused on the process, and it helped me a lot. And I've just reprinted it today. It's on my desk. Look. So I have a closing trade protocol now. And there's basically 3 questions that I need to ask myself before I'm allowed to close a trade. Tasty, crispy water. Take a deep breath, drink some water. Feels great. So the first question is, has my TA setup been invalidated? Now, this assumes that getting into the trade, making the trade, and I'm trading my setups, and I'm not just in and out and up and down like a horse. So on that assumption, that's a whole other checklist I'd have to do. That's actually not one of my bad habits. I typically am pretty good about getting into positions only when I have a setup and a clear invalidation. So this is the thing I'm working on. Has my TA setup been invalidated? Now you might stop and think, wow, that's kind of stupid. If it hasn't been invalidated, why would you close it? And yet, this is something I do quite often. A lot of times it's the psychology of seeing something go into profit and then seeing it take a lot of it back. Maybe it goes back up a little bit again, and you psych yourself out into saying, this time I'm going to grab it. Nothing's been invalidated. It's just the market being the market, and you close the trade. Hands up if you've ever done that. Most people have. And so that's question 1. Has it been invalidated? Yes, no. Usually the answer is no. But there's other reasons you might want to close a trade early. Has there been a shift in the fundamentals that invalidate the TA? Was Binance just hacked? Did the US government just do something crazy? Did China ban Bitcoin, right? Those things are not on the chart. Now, sometimes your TA will be invalidated pretty quickly if there's a major shift like that. Or maybe it's just like, I discovered that the team is full of scammers on CoinX, and I didn't know that before. The fundamentals have shifted. So in absence of the TA being invalidated, perhaps there's another good reason to close the trade. So question 2 is, has there been a shift in the fundamentals that invalidates the TA? If the answer is no, go to question 3. And then number 3, and this is another reason I close trades early, something I've identified, and that is my risk oversized? There's really only 3 reasons you should be closing a trade early, or at least feeling the urge to. Either your TA was invalidated, trade closes automatically, stop loss, whatever. There's a major shift in fundamentals that you didn't account for in your TA that changes the setup, or maybe makes you just think, you know what? The debt ceiling stuff, whatever. Something shifted. I am no longer interested in this trade, even though the TA is still valid. In some cases, that's appropriate. And then, is my risk oversized? Now, if your risk is oversized, the answer doesn't mean close the trade. Maybe the answer to 1 and 2, you haven't been invalidated, but you're feeling oversized, and that's why you're even checking this checklist, because you're feeling like you want to close the trade. And a lot of times the question or the answer is, oh, you're just a little bit oversized. If you were trading for $10, you would never want to close the trade early. You wouldn't care, but you also wouldn't care at all about the trade. So you want to find that sweet spot. And I struggle with number 3 a lot. Getting into positions that are really good. I love the setup, so I size it up. And it's that size that can get me into trouble as the trade plays out. You start watching it too closely, you start over managing it, blah, blah, blah. If I answered, so I wrote at the bottom, if you answered no to all of these questions, do not close the fucking trade. I threw the fucking in there just for spice, but it doesn't actually say that. It just says do not close the trade. And so this is me returning back to a more disciplined process. You know, how many trades I've probably gotten out of early for no good reason, still for some small profit, whatever. But if you're risking 1R on a trade, whether that be $500 or 10,000, and you're closing trades early that are otherwise winners, or maybe they ended up being losers, but you closed them early, that's still not a successful move. Long term, you've got to have the discipline. And that's something I'm working on in this particular era. So there's a really cool tool. I don't know if I can pull it up, but it's basically just a demon finder checklist. Here's what I'll do. Here's a blank template for anyone. We'll slap it right on the chart here. Let's go over to the charts. So here is the demon finder. This is a little cheat code from over at TRI, which I don't see as like sharing something that, you know, they want to be kept private as much as promoting their program. I'm always promoting their program, not here to give away their alpha for free, but this is a really nice little tool. One example of the many things you get over there. And this is at the top of my trade journal. I've just started filling it out again. And so it's not, you know, it's not fully like I do a new journal for each year, a new file. So yeah, this is basically just a template. There's a few X's in here, but anytime you go through a trade, you fuck something up, these are your demon finders. So you're identifying where your issues are, the things you're consistently making mistakes on. And as it's taught, basically, if you get too many X's in one category, obviously that's a red flag. You should probably try to figure out specifically how you can go and fix that thing. And then if you get too many X's all over the place, just stop trading, like it says over here. It's like, okay, time to stop trading, idiot. Go back to paper trading. You're not doing very well. Because these are not, I lost because my setup was invalidated and I lost some money. This is like, I screwed up the setup. I screwed up the management, the execution, behavior inappropriate. And you can, you know, trading while drunk, like you can add whatever categories to this you want. Trading while, you know, like not sleeping well. You could have like slept less than 6 hours, and you can have that down here and put an X next to it every time you do that. You shouldn't do that. If you want to be a good trader, you should get your sleep. So this is a cool little tool. And as I return to the process this year, we talked about that last few streams, just really hardening my process so that when the big moves come, when the easy mode returns, I'm executing at a high level again, because I used to and slipped through the last bull, as we often do, because the things end up being so easy. Yeah. So the window share that I'm on right now is not the right window. So I'm not sure what that's all about. It's been doing that lately. But as you can see, lots of little ups and downs here on the perp account. But I'm not even looking at that screen on any of my screens, so I don't know why that share is up. Confused. Should have to change that. Yeah, no idea where that window even is. Not cool. All right, let's try that again. Window. It's been doing this a lot lately. Try that. That should be the agger. It's doing that to me on Discord, Google Meets. Yeah, it's the same one. See, what the hell? Like, I don't even have that window open on any of my tabs. Google Chrome needs to be updated or reset. Like that's my like P&L trade. I was just inputting some trades and it's like back on the chart screen, even on my Bybit. So this is strange. Fuck, I don't even know what to do here. What did I do last time? I just shared a Chrome tab, but that's lame. Okay, let's do the entire screen. Is that weird? Trying to see what's on my entire screen. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's entire screen, but whatever. I guess you could crop out my lower bar, but it's not really that doxy. Except now everyone knows I play StarCraft. Ah. Actually, I haven't played in a while. I was thinking about playing today. Because yeah, let's look at the market. Okay, first things, we're getting some mixed signals. I'm seeing some high time frame bullish signals. Okay, reset. I'm seeing some high time frame bullish swing signals, but at resistances. So it could be a trap. Yeah, full stack creative mentioned plan versus execution. Yeah, so really getting back to the plan. I gotta be honest, guys. I'm really happy with my analysis. My ability to analyze when is a good time to get in and out and when is a good time to just chill has been excellent. And I don't say that as like, hey, look at my stream or watch my show, but like my analysis for the most part smacks. My ability to execute on it and find ways to frame it in a way that's, that's high and low. There's been some real wins though lately. So, a couple paper cuts here doing the perps lately, but LBR was nice. Shout out to Jedi for getting me in on this. And I went a bit against my usual, which is like, oh look, it's breaking out. I'm just gonna pass because I wait for a dip. But I've done that a lot. New coins like this, his fundamental analysis put it at a much higher market cap. Should be whatever. So I figured, look, this was highest volume at the time. That usually does not mark the high. So I decided to ape a fairly decent little slug into here, looking for a sell half on double. I got one. Mistake, did not set my next sell for half on a double, which actually came in pretty quickly, like 2 days later. So while I was sitting there like, yeah, I got my double, the next one came in and then instant nuke. Somebody put out a thread basically saying LBR is super overvalued based on its revenue. And in unison with that, there was a huge dump. So I did not bang out the second double, unfortunately, but I still got a free position in this one. And that free position is still up, a little bigger than the initial buy. So we're okay. And if it comes back down into some reload zones now, which it looks like it will, fundamentally not a whole lot will have shifted by then, I'm guessing. And that's a situation where I can like find a way to load a second car. So let's say, for example, put in $500, turns into 1,000, take my 500 back. Oops, didn't get my next 500 out, but down here I can redeploy the 500 again. And so just building up positions, and who knows how many cars I'll get to load on LBR before its eventual moon if we get it next cycle, this cycle, whatever. So I've been into the little old lady strategy again, and it's been treating me well. And I'm really enjoying it. That's an important thing, Like I've talked about this before. I'm not a big fan of like the sit around day to day scalp. It's a higher stress way to be. When you nail it, it's really profitable and it feels good to put money in your pocket on the day. When you get into a nice swing long and you see it printing for weeks, it can feel great. Leverage, fun, excitement. But it's not conducive to like the rest of my lifestyle, especially with the kids coming home and all this stuff. I'm gonna have 3 fucking babies under 2. So I'm actually really enjoying little old lady strategy. Now here's zero, which I actually did mention in the Discord, which is fun because I don't always talk about the things that I'm doing. And when I do, it's often like at the highs or, it's like poorly timed. But that was me, that little candle there. And I didn't double down here. I thought about it. I looked at it. I wasn't feeling it that day, probably bearish on the market. Slight oversight. I mean, it was like an insane dump. I was like, oh, fuck this coin. But anyways, banged out a double somewhere around the 86 cents. So I guess like up here. And yeah, now based on what I just learned from LBR, I should probably go set my next double in case this thing just goes bam and tops or whatever. Top, don't stop. So that'd be like that'd be 86. So probably like $100.72. So that's actually pretty high up, but like that'd be my next double. So take out another slug from that. And then if and when these things often do, right? They go up, and then roll into a reload zone over a period of months, reload next cars. So this strategy, since being on with Brian Beamish a few weeks ago, I've started doing it. It's really nice because it's so passive. I'm using cow swap for limit orders. It's been pretty effective. The thing is with cow swap, it has to go like 1% or so past your desired price for there to be like a profitable ARB and somebody will fill it, but that's okay. It is what it is. So unless you're playing Pippi Longstocking, trying to nail the exact pip, it should fill. And it's just like in theory, it's always a bad trade. It's like you're always selling it to someone for a price that's a little bit worse than the price. But that's not the point. Peanuts, I say. So I think I'm going to keep going with this. And it's nice. I've just got like a set defined slug size that I'm putting into these and like playing with seeds. And so when I look and I have 10 different alt positions, they're not all worth like these crazy random amounts. They're all within 5-10% of like that amount. In other words, it's pretty easy to keep track of. I'm risking them to zero. If anything, I can double down on them if they puke out. If, of course, fundamentally nothing's changed. So I've banged out 2 doubles to start in about a month. So it's 2 free positions that I can now ride into the horizons without any risk. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's the win. Now, I'm really hype on Solana right now. If there's a bull, I think we should go back and talk about Bitcoin a little bit. So there was a Trendmaster breakout yesterday. In other words, breakout candle and then exceeding that candle. We're still under the high time frame downtrend. So mixed signal there. As you can see here. Well, actually, I think it doesn't count if it's 2 candles later. I'd have to double check that. I think it has to be the next candle that signals the breakout. Anyways, you guys know I like the Trendmaster. It smacks when it's a strong trending market. It gets chopped to bits when it's not. As you can see here, it signaled a short right at the lows, which if I was staying like the Mr. Forever Bull, would have been my little higher low reload zone. Didn't trade it because I was so butthurt about closing my short from here, but that's another story for another day. Anyways, another signal I want to talk about, which is great. From an old friend who used to actually be on this channel, Nick Cote from back in the day. If you happen to be watching, Nick, hello, miss you, man. He told me about the stochastic. This is an old thing. Like this was like 2020. He's like, bro, peep the 3-day stochastic. Now, for whatever reason, this one that I have saved in this template is slightly different from an out of the box stock. 14, 3, and 3 are the settings here. But when you get it out of the box here, it's going to be 14, 1, and 3. I don't know exactly why or what, but that's what it's set to. So he shared this with me. He obviously is the one who told me to change that. I don't know exactly why or how it does that, but just be aware. It's not the same one. So if you want to do what I'm doing, you got to switch that to 1433. Now the 3-day, if you do some back testing, is a pretty sweet signal for swings. It's not perfect. How do you frame your risk? It's something more like, hey, I'm out of my spot positions. I'm back in my spot positions. I'm out of my spot positions if you were just trading Bitcoin. And the signal that I'm using right now is when the green or the faster moving moves into oversold and then crosses back bullish, not only crossing over the slower moving average, but crossing back above oversold. So they both have to go oversold, and then this one has to come back in to over, or from like basically cross the 20 line. And you can actually set alerts for that. So it'll just tell you when that happens, which is pretty cool. I'm working on a script that would just tell me that. Now, if we go back and look, as far as like broader positioning, like, hey, I'd like to be mostly cash. Hey, I'd like to be mostly Bitcoin or whatever. It's pretty decent. So I don't know if I go back and do a whole back test study, but this is just like a little cheat code that he told me about. I think it seemed to work more because like I feel like when he first told me about it, it was like an insanely high hit rate as far as just like getting in and out of swings, at least setting your bias. Oh, look, I did circle some on here. Look at that. I'm prepared. But this is generally the areas where that bullish cross occurred. So not bad places to be buying, right? Even though in these cases it ended up nuking lower. It's not perfect. Here, China pump. I remember that candle because it blew out a short that I had. I'll never forget that fucking candle. China said something and it blew up and then just died. And then here another one. And then obviously COVID crash. It went bearish and crossed back bullish. And it did not do the thing until later in the July summer, which of course was a great place to be buying, July 2021 area. And then again through this, obviously didn't age too well, but not a bad place to be thinking about getting back long. Although it looks like it did that here too. Anyways, it's a cool little signal. It's just one of many tools. So like for context, when I do a setup, you don't just look at TA and say, hey, look, this one indicator signaling this one thing, I better take a bunch of risk against a random level. the most common setup I use is the 3 reasons setup. So 3 unrelated reasons to get into a trade. 3 things that align that say this is good. Most commonly, I would say location, momentum, structure. It's like the most bread and butter setup ever. So you say, okay, this is not a great location high time frame. Just using it as an example. I'm not calling Bitcoin 20K, although it could happen. But just say, okay, we're down in the reload zone. We just made a lower low, but let's say the MACD made a higher low. Didn't go as low, and then it crosses bullish. So then we would have location, we would have divergence, and then I could say, oh, look at that, and then say, oh, and now we have market structure. We've printed a higher low, higher high. Then I take the setup. Maybe it's a breakout trade, or maybe I like to actually just wait for the next higher low and then try to like take that against this or that against this. And there's your 3-step setup. So very high level, that's a 3-step setup. And so then to use that effectively, you just have to like know a whole bunch of different tools. Find a whole bunch of ones that work for you, whether it's fibs, other location tools can include like VPVR. Hey, look, there's value high. This is where you should expect to see some support. Then you look over here and you say, hey, look at that. Should expect to see possibly some support. And then you go over here and you say, hey, look, what a friggin' coincidence. There's your 50 line, again, 50-50. So there's a good location level. If we get in there on bullish divergence and then we make a little W, I'd say I have a trade. Anyways, all that ranting to say that this is just one thing, but look at it. The 3-day has crossed bullish. So I don't want to get too bearish. And this is true of like as a few days ago. Obviously today, we've kind of moved up a little bit. But where did it cross? Because I remember it kind of crossed like in pretty good time. I mean, it crossed basically during the last 3-day, May 25th, 26th, 27th, I guess. So like it basically crossed bullish through this. And that was a signal for me to like just cool it on trying to short too much. I still did. I took 2 shots shorting this thing. Paper cut. And yeah, so done with that. Anyways, so the 3-day crossing bullish on the stochastic, the trend master starting to break out. It's just enough for me to say like cool my jets for a little bit, wait for a short setup. That doesn't mean I don't want to take some risk off up here. If I feel like we're still going to have a bearish summer, I'm not totally abandoning my seasonality bias. However, I'm certainly not going to just like shorting into the sky to see like the inverse of catching daggers. I'm going to wait for a really good setup if it comes. Because ultimately my job this year, and that's through that little lady strategy I was just talking about, as I see it, is to position myself into a whole bunch of shit long. Like to be long on a whole bunch of shit with as little risk as possible while generating as many free positions as possible while also generating like cash flow positions. I'm enjoying that. I watched Captain Rational's stream yesterday. If you guys don't follow him on Twitter, you should. Noah Seedman, super smart guy. Really appreciated his stream yesterday. And he was just talking about sort of this inevitability of the liquidity cycle or like global liquidity rising. Conditions for asset appreciation are pretty much inevitably going to improve. And then I thought it was funny, but it's true. He's like, if they don't rise, if those conditions don't improve, if that liquidity doesn't arrive, then there's no hedge against that. We're just all going to be fucked. So get some Korean packet soup and a shovel and a shotgun and get ready. And in lieu of that unlikely event, just get ready for asset appreciation. So what assets do you want to be in and ideally have them generating cash flow so you can not have to sell them to make money, but simply hold them to make money. I really like that thinking. So I'm focusing a bit more on that with my free position attempts. Yeah, he's dope. Really sharp guy. Yeah, Hild Lane asked me about my pulse chain plan. Honestly, as of last week, up until today, I forgot I had some. I'm really ignoring it. I'm going to kind of like, I wrote it off years ago. Pretty much the day I threw it in, sacrificed, go figure. But I noticed the other day it was trading at 1x. So, yeah, kind of wanted to take it. I don't even know, like, has anybody actually bridged out a pulse chain with decent stablecoin liquidity? because all the TVL in the world doesn't matter if there's no stable coin liquidity at the bridge exit. So I just decided to kind of leave it. At one point I checked, it was like the Pico low. Let's go see, actually. Let's go see. Oh, I guess I can actually check right on Dex Screener. God, the zero chart looks good. I think it's going to go for another leg. I don't think it's a buy up here for me, but it does look pretty strong up there for now. Because the new highs came in with like a big burst of volume. So it looks like a breakout. You know, it'd be sick. 6 million market cap. I guess this is possible. It'd be super cool if this entire consolidation range got a friggin', yeah, you know the one I'm going to say. Chaos. Where is it? There it is. Flip it. That would be cool. Take this whole consolidation and express that energy north into a chaos level. Instead of, like, my thinking was, instead of selling halves and doubles all the way up, if I feel like I found something fundamentally undervalued or super bullish, LSD narrative, whatever, that I would sell the first half on a double to just get that free position, but then hit the next one on chaos. So in fact, I should probably set my next one up here. Yeah. Yeah. First edition says, yes, I did get on the LBR train. Sold one half of the position on the double. Didn't get my second double off, even though it came in. Yeah. Well, just so you know, LBR whales are looking at zero. It's like Alchemix, but the yield comes from staked ETH. Huge liquidity, volume increasing, still in test though. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like zero a lot. I like the concept. Now, very high level. This was explained to me in passing. I didn't go and do all my own research, but it is literally Smeety Boop, who I hired to do my research for me. So he basically described it to me as like a lending service where you use staked ETH as collateral, you borrow against it, and then the staked ETH yield on the back end pays off the loan. So you never have to pay back the loan yourself. You just simply don't get to have your staked ETH for a while. So it's like an advanced lending service. You're getting basically like a cash advance on your staking yields, which I think is pretty cool. I think that's definitely got a pumpamental in it as far as like a story goes. So at a low market cap like we had and some decent, TA levels, I liked it. Okay. But I came here to talk about Pulse X. Let's talk about PLS. I don't even know. Is it trading against DAI? It was. Wrapped PLS. Wow. Wrapped Pulse. Okay. So this is some pretty crazy liquidity. Price in DAI. Yeah. So this is where I first looked at it and I was like, damn, it's worth $5,000. I think I put in 5 ETH back in the day. What did I put in? 5 ETH. Yeah. So about 10K back in July 2021. Oh, those were the days. Throwing around 5 ETH like candy. And then, yeah, so it was pretty shit down here. I think it was worth like 5. And then the next time I checked it, it was kind of trading up in here and it was worth like 20K. So maybe a 2X. Anyways, I just left it. I don't know. I don't really have a good plan for this. I'll tell you what, because I wrote it off. I mean, in retrospect, if it was 2X, I could have had a free position. But because I wrote it off, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I'm assuming it's dead. I'm letting it play out. And if it moons, it moons. It's so off my radar that, yeah. And then I also wasn't sure if there was even like liquidity at the exit. And I didn't want to exit right away. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to let this thing mature a little bit. If it dumps to oblivion and goes to zero, well, I deserve it. That's my plan. Should probably review that plan. Hermes is building on top of layer 0. Hey, first edition. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. That is very sweet. Check the buyer. 0, 6 mil. What say you? 0 also at 6 mil. Check this buyer. Which buyer? It's up 26%, 23% today. That's cool. Is there a buyer I should be checking? I don't know. I hope this isn't a bunch of you guys aping into stuff at the highs on the stream. That would be awkward. I hope it goes though. BTC Impulse incoming. Oh my God. Circa's in the chat saying BTC impulse incoming without giving a direction. Like he's going to say, I called it either way. Come on, get on stream here if you want to hang out. In fact, that'd be fun. You should hop in. We've got 25 more minutes. Come tell us about your goddamn ranges. Yeah, zero does look bullish. So basically, another thing I'm doing with my process is exploring these ranges. I'm really enjoying the range stuff. So in this case, we had, what was it? We had Monday's range last week. Got really interesting when it broke back in. It blasted to the other side. Great trade. Cool. Then it went higher. And then we have Monday here. So you could expect, if we're going to just keep doing this shit, that we're going to chop around in here. You get some nice trades. Some really interesting stuff developing on the setup side to do with these ranges. So I'd be curious what Mr. Shirk is talking about with this impulse incoming. I want this crystal ball and I want it now. But my guess is it's to the upside because we are kind of breaking back into this Monday range. But either way, I got to say, as much as it's less exciting, it's still pretty exciting, to be honest, when you see that you banged it a double and you get to go count your chips and you get to put it in your little book. There's a lot of good feelings from that. So I do miss, like, sometimes the high flying, wild west of daily leverage trading. But point is, these ranges are fascinating. Like right now, it is a very rangy market. If I had to be a guessing man, a betting man, God, look at all these alerts. Old range alerts. I should probably just get rid of it. I can keep that one. If I was a guessing man, I'd say we're going to trade up into the short reload zone. There, I said it. And once we get that far, why not go for another leg? It's really tough to say. I am spot long. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Solana. I'm spot long. I repositioned my core cash position into Solana. Because you know what? I think it's overdue. I think it looks good versus Bitcoin. I think it looks good versus US dollars. I think Bitcoin looks pretty good versus USD, other than being at range highs and possibly breaking down and being the worst time to say that. But I really like Solana here. I'll show you why. That's what I should be talking about today. It's my largest position. Break it into the range. Really clean PA into the range here. So we have, don't even need this diagonal. I had it on there because I like to have that sort of, okay, we have a downtrend. Let's see when it breaks through and starts to work its way back up. Let's do this. We have this. Close, close, close. Stretch, stretch. So we had bullish divergence down into the low it made. We have an RSI breakout on the daily. We have a confirmed bullish divergence on MACD. No high time frame full reload zone kind of retrace, but we got one locally right into the sweet spot. And then right off of those levels, we broke back inside range, and it was this close that got me feeling like I need to buy this range low retest. Because look, Solana had a sick start to the year. There was speculation that Google bought a bunch of Sol. Some kind of crazy whale came in and bought $10 million worth, or 10 million Solana. I forget what it was, but it was a lot. And it's done nothing since. Absolute underperformer for the entire year. Went up 100% and then stopped. I think it went actually, bottom to top, it was a little bit more than that. But generally speaking, it was like a 2x off the lows. For any reasonable, this range to this range was about a 2x. We're not going pip to pip here. You know what I'm saying? So, underperformer for the year. And I don't see any good reason for that. We got Buyer Dancer coming up, the jump, brand new jump node software, whatever. It's going to speed it up. Possibly, 600,000 transactions per second. It's actually really good to use. It is. I know. We like to laugh. It went down a few times. Maybe it's going to go down again. But each time it's gone down, it comes back online with everything still working in order. You didn't lose your funds. It's not ideal. I'm not going to defend it, but it is new tech. It's complicated tech. It's, oh my God, is it complicated? I mean, things that might take 10,000 lines of code on Solidity or whatever the Ethereum one is. I'm not a developer, but might take like 150 lines of code on Rust. That's an example I heard recently, like some insane amount of complication. But as a result, you get the throughput, you get this crazy low fee environment, and I think it's going to have a season. I think it's going to have a real fucking crazy season. What I find confusing about Solana is it's really hard to tell how much of this was genuine and how much of this was just like an Alameda, Sam Bankman-Fried Fugazi. So I don't know how much I want to like be like, oh, we're hitting to new highs. Like this might have been a thing that's just not going to happen for a long time. Obviously, there's some pre-seed and seed investors and lots of lockups and things like it could be a period of years. So it's really hard for me to use the old TIA on that, knowing that there was some serious shenanigans going on. But I really like this range reentry. And so I bought my core cash positions back into Solana. I didn't get filled on a perp long that I really wanted. So that's a little bit painful. I'm not going to lie, guys. I really wanted to be longer. It's unfortunate because I took this pump chaser zone and look at it. It was so close. So I got pipped out. I was bidding this. I was looking to get in. It like missed me by a hair. I tell you, a hair. And so that's unfortunate, but whatever. Decent sized spot position. And then it's like, let's find some high beta Solana stuff because right now it's not making headlines. Nobody gives a shit. It's just moving up. The whole market's moving up. Who cares? But if Solana starts to heat up, and it will, and I should say like the hyperbole around it will heat up if it gets above range EQ testing range highs. Trust me, bro. The charters are going to come out and tell you that this massive weekly resistance is going to break and that we're going to move to $40. I want to front run all of that excitement. The level that we thought was going to break in the spring or winter might, how you want to draw. I feel like we touched it before, so I must have been drawing it off of this wick. Maybe just like a line. Either way, major resistance up here. But if we break through that, there's some serious air gappage going on right here. This is starting to get like a really gross chart. Oh, sorry about that. Let's clean it up. There's some other interesting stuff I want to show you about Solana too. What a crazy chaos level. I sold there and I felt dumb for like 2 weeks because it kept going higher. And then looking back, I'm like, damn. Always sell chaos levels. Make that a rule. And I have ever since. Serious air gappage going on basically from here to here. Similar to like that Bitcoin level where it's like, what was it? The 42K lows. Wow. It was kind of like this zone on Bitcoin. Right? It's like on the way up, we just zip through it. And on the way down, we zip through it. So there was so little volume traded through it. And arguably, this is just us filling that in. Cleaning up the chart. See, not a lot of volume traded there. It was like an air gap. So every time we get there, we move through it pretty quickly. So if we can get into that situation, Solana, which I think we will, it's just a matter of time. And that time could be now. We could just keep ranging here, the more likely scenario, or this could be the start of the breakout, a possible scenario. And I want to be on board no matter what of those two. So I got a lot of work to do. It's going to be a multi-month trade, probably going to take a long time. That's why it's a core spot position and not some skanky high leverage long that I'll just stare at for 2 weeks at most and then close no matter what at some point. Oh damn. Circus says can't stream, baby sleeping. Yep, I hear you, bro. I think my baby just came and closed my door. He's like, God damn it, Dad, keep it down. Gut says we smashed this descending channel. Talking about Bitcoin, probably. Sorry, guys. I didn't keep up with the chat. Now I'm all lost. Usually both impulses are same direction. Oh, he says impulse may be to the upside, but it's continuation setup. Impulse, form range, deviate it, retest, then impulse. Okay. See, you're going to have to watch Circa on Thursdays to understand what the hell he's saying. He explains it really well, but you need visuals. I need visuals. What do you think about Zero at this point? I mean, I still love it. It's undervalued on a sort of, it's like sub 10 mil market cap. TA wise, it's like I just sold half on the double. I'm now in a risk-free position. So you have to understand as I talk about it, where am I and where are you? But seriously, in that situation, I mean, look, I don't know. I don't know where you frame your risk here, but if you take the little old lady strategy is like take a small slug. Don't care if it goes to zero. If anything, give yourself room to re-add to it. Just keep in mind the other day, randomly, this thing dropped like fucking, what was it? It was a lot. Like overnight, 35% dunk. So this thing's pretty volatile. I have no idea what to tell somebody who wants to buy it up here. I think it's about to break out and go higher because we're seeing a big rise in volume after a long consolidation and now pushing up to highs on higher volume. I think there's a good chance this thing busts out into price discovery, but I have a hard time framing risk up here. So there's always risk when you play in the markets. How to do it, I don't know. Buy levels where it's like easier to frame risk. Look, it's pumping, right? So if we're in a really bullish trend, kind of looks like it is. Pump chaser zone is why I invented that tool. That's down here. Did it just get front run or is it coming in sometime later this week? I don't know. There's risk if the thing is, you can't fall in love with an idea so much. Like I was just going to say there's risk on missing out, but that's not even really risk because there's always going to be another asset making some move somewhere. The markets aren't going anywhere. So if you can kind of like get comfortable with the fact that you will miss something or could miss something, it makes it a lot easier to be patient and wait for like the God tier entries. I'm not even saying this one is God tier, but like this kind of area is about as aggressive as I'd want to be buying more of this myself. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, just looks good. Move through the trend line, big fat W, retest, breakout, nice rising volume. And it's a big LSD play. So as LSDs and ETH heat up, this is kind of a new player. And 92 million FDV, but 6 million market cap. So yeah, I think it's got some room. That's what I think about Zero at this point. I don't know what you should do if that's what you're asking. I'm not here to give advice. Yeah, I love Solana right now. Love it. Cash position in Solana? You're nuts, bro. Maybe. But I'll know when I'm nuts and I'll get out and I'll lose a set amount of money. And that set amount of money won't hurt me. So no harm, no foul. It's good risk reward. I love it. YOLO NOLO on Solana seems interesting. Yes, it does. Look at that. I got a chart right here. We've talked about that before. Now, I aped into this one, as you can see. I bought some pretty early because, I focused on Hero Network and it launched on Hero Network. Now, I'd like to say this pump was me, but it wasn't. I actually bought near the top of that. But either way. So I've got a position in YOLO. And yeah, looks good. Looks good, tastes great. I don't know what else to say about it, except for we talked about it last week on stream, and it's a bot that goes in Discord and you can trade from, and soon you can bridge from. So it's like a meme coin with lots of superpowers. And then is there going to be some coolness coming in with the token? Are they going to have some buyback and burn, fee generation, staking? Like, who knows? My guess is the team is so on it with the memes and the early development that there will be some surprises in the future. I actually don't know. That is not some hint as if I'm some sort of insider, but I have a feeling they will. My guess is what we've been seeing from them we'll continue to see. Seeing a lot of people talk about Chainlink, I don't find it exciting at all. That's a weekly chart, by the way. Talk about a year of bowling. Now, I would need the market to give me a reason to think it's about to wake up. There's none. No rising buy volume, no breakouts, no nothing. And the cool thing is, and I saw someone tweeting something to the effect of, this will break out and you'll miss it. And, you'll wait for a retrace and it'll never come. And I was like, oh no, not Chainlink. Like, who cares? Don't let that kind of shit get you into bad positions. It is kind of in a range. It is arguably around the range low. And if you want to be a range trader, there might be a trade in here for you, but that's a weekly. Could take 6 months to go up freaking 40%. Boring. Now, if I see ramping buy volume and blah, 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 and it breaks out, and then we can do something like this. And it breaks out. And it's like, oh man, oh no, I'm following. And it breaks out, it'll almost certainly come back and Don't believe the lies. It'll never come back for you. That is the number one way to just get cocked. Come into that level, come back in here. I mean, this is a weekly. This will be like a year to play out. But, that whatever it is, until it's moving, I don't care about it. Like, find me a more boring asset. Now, you know what they say? As I say that, never short a dull market, right? So who knows? But looks like we got the impulse. So that's cool. Bitcoin moving up. Yeah, let's see. Like my more local view on Bitcoin. It's so messy right now. I don't love all my rangy charts. This one, my one on Bybit's a little more accurate or up to date, but from the low to the high, front running this 382. There's a couple levels down there. Like I kind of, the bull cope in me wants me to see these equal lows get swept, and then that be the move up from there. But if this was a range, then we're just chilling on a level. So, like I said earlier, I think if I was a betting man, I'd say we're just going to trade higher here and really do some nasty stuff to the bears. Probably sweep a bunch of liquidity. Possibly make a whole new leg. That's just if I had to guess. But that is what someone would say after 3 or 4 days of moving up, right? So we'll see. I think the best thing I can say right now that's helped me a lot, that is like keep me out of trouble, is that this is not the year for me to try to make it. This is a year for me to position myself to be in a great position to really make it all back in one session next year. And so I'm trying my best to stay not risk off, but like not size up, not go for it, not take any undue risk, not overanalyze or over trade. Really just like finding new names and good positions and generating free positions, the zero LBR. And still pretty freaking long on this market. I'm just not like, oh man, I need so much leverage right now. Every time I do that, and I have done it, even as recently as yesterday, but every time I do that, it typically results in greater risk, less reward. And that is a big reason why right before the stream today, I came up with this, and I've got it now on my desk. Trade closing protocol. Figure out why I am having an impulsive decision to close a trade. And then out loud, I have to ask those questions. When you speak out loud to yourself, you use a different part of your brain. And that part of your brain is better at making decisions and analyzing instead of just thinking, fight or flight, impulse control, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. What do you guys want us to look at? I'm kind of out of stuff. It's kind of a tricky spot here. I think we're going to go higher. I think we have, I think the bears fell asleep. I think I don't need all these lines on my chart. To be honest, there's a lot too many lines. But yeah, I think I like this as a range, even though, there's probably a few ways you could draw one. Like this could be a range high. It's a good one. Swept it. Might be dangerous not to look at that one as like, okay, we swept the range highs. We're headed to the EQ of that. But that's what I mean. I get kind of lost in the fray with this shit. So I'm really enjoying the Monday range stuff. And on that note, we just broke inside the Monday close. So we should be bullish here for a little bit. But it's not really a vetted setup for me. So don't take my word for it. But yeah, if we were to look at that, it kind of changes the picture, doesn't it? So if this was our range, then, we just swept the highs and we're back inside. And we swept them on a Sunday. Here's the thing. Debt ceiling apparently is not very good. Could lead to, withdrawn liquidity from the market, midterm, short term, whatever, long term. So I was wondering, with all my bearish seasonality theories, if all of the lead up to the debt ceiling being raised is a buy the rumor, and then in essence, when it goes live or when it gets pushed through Congress and the Senate, if it becomes a sell the news. And what kind of setups can we see coming in at those levels? That's just a thought I had. There's no setup there, but something I'm keeping an eye on. Point is, I've cooled my jets on the shorts. I'm no longer trying to short this thing right now. Maybe they stop me from shorting at the highs. I doubt it, but it's possible. The 4-hour trend is up. It's just riding the EMA, as we like to see, riding that little old range high resistance or support, as we like to see. So I'm net biased to the long side right now in both my positioning and my hunting. You know what I'm hunting, my setups. Got to say, though, it's not going to be easy to trade, guys. Probably not going to be very fun either. Might get fun later, but this was an ugly 4-hour. Oh my God. When I saw this 4-hour, I just went, I am wrong. So if it turns out to be a shakeout, we didn't quite even sweep that low by about $30. That would be very effective. I was in a long last night. I closed some this morning because I wanted to de-risk and have myself, risking 10% of what I had been risking before. So that worked. And then I got shaken out right here because I was so sure it was going to sweep my low. And it didn't. It swept all the lows but my stop loss. And that's why I wrote up that trade closing protocol today. I said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to chase this thing. I'm going to sit here. But it was this. It was this. Now looking back, reload zone, whatever. But my stop loss was below. It was 27,499. Fine, leave it. Close some here. My risk was very minimal. But I had just gotten in. I was working out. Personal trainer came up, eating my lunch, saw this all happening in real time, and I went, oh, I guess we're going to puke down. Like, I'm going to look to get like a nice sweep and retest entry. And in classic Max annoying market way, swept, totally fucking safe. So I think I ended up closing the remainder there for a reduced profit. And that just sucks. And then after this, I thought maybe I'd come down. So there are some levels down here. And if there was some bull divs as we got them, I'd be pretty interested in longing it. But for now, it looks like I'm going to be sidelined on the futures front for a little bit, which is a bit of a stinger, see? But, here's the thing. I've got that checklist now. And so the idea of like improving yourself 1% a day for a year compounds. Like, I feel really good about having this. I've known I've needed it for a while. I've talked about it. I've journaled about it, but I haven't created it. Today was the trigger. I was like, God damn it. There was no reason on that list that I needed to close that trade, but I just did it because I had just sat down and I was like, ooh, I can outsmart this move. Anyways, yeah. Jay is a good little earner, but you got to wait. I sold my Jay. Yep. So I helped you earn. I decided that while it is going to be a good little earner, I wanted to get this little lady strategy going. I wanted to start banging out doubles and doing all this stuff. And Jay was soaking up a pretty good amount of my liquidity. So I sold it. I made some money on it. So it's okay. But I'm not going to be there for when it 2Xs versus ETH. I think I can outperform that anyways. Yeah. So one of the key takeaways I got from Rational Investor, Captain Rational last night. I like all the rational guys. It seems like a good theme. But it was just that like liquidity in the system is going to increase long term, pretty much inevitably. So he's kind of like, we know where it's going. So we've just got to be in positions that generate cash flow when it happens. And that's been a real big takeaway for me from his stream history. Just kind of reminded me to like refocus on that instead of getting lost in the fugazi that is some of this like more like chip chop trading, which I'm like days away from not really being able to do for a while with the babies and such coming home. So yeah, money coming back to DeFi protocols would be great. So yeah, Circa's laughing. He says, bro, the sad thing is that I played it so perfectly, bro. I tripled or doubled my long size down here. And then this morning I was watching all this happen. I think I closed a chunk here. So I basically reduced my total risk on the position to like very little, like 1/10. So fucking leave it. Don't touch it. came back for lunch and was like, you know what? If we lose this, it's lights out. I suddenly decided that. So, like that's the craziness. It's crazy. It's irrational. So, with my new Bible, and I'm going to peel it off my desk. I'm going to tape it down later, but I wanted to keep it fresh for this. Here it is, my new trade closing protocol. And I will not close. I hereby declare that I shall not close a trade unless the answer to all of those questions is, or as long as all of the answer to those questions is no. There's no reason to close. Anyways, I'd like to say that I'm super upset and this is a totally new thing, but I'm kind of numb to it now. I've done this a bunch. It's like, hello, darkness, my old friend. And I've bounced back every single time. Like life's good, I'm still going to make it. So if you're sitting there at home, you've missed something, you fucked up a trade, you got out too early, you got stopped right before it moved, you stopped yourself out and never got stopped. If you've done any of those stupid things recently, forgive yourself. Don't ignore it. Don't do nothing about it, but forgive yourself. Because I promise you, it's not going to help you trade better to stay angry. Zoom out. Your job right now is to focus on the big, easy trades. They will come in. There will be times when the market is throwing money at your face and you're just like, ow, ow, stop it. Ow, too much. That will return in some way, shape, or form. There will be a moment, there will be a tip, there will be a news, something, whatever. There'll be a setup. It's going to happen. So remember that's our job, is to wait for those moments to come in and to position for those. And then an entire year of paper cuts is just going to be dilutive to that, or a month or a week. And often, correct me if I'm wrong, after you do something like that, make a mistake, miss a trade, do something that tilts you, you overtrade and you try to make it up and you get paper cut. And then you finally give up if you're lucky. And in bad situations, people that lack the broader risk management plan, they can actually blow themselves up completely over a missed opportunity. So this is a lesson I have learned. This is a lesson I know. So I'm weirdly calm about not being in a very nicely positioned, fairly low risk long that I was in. When I put it that way, it pisses me off, but I'll get over it. Can you take a look at Reef Token, Near Protocol? Yeah, let's take a look. Let's take a look as we wrap up the stream today. We'll take a look at a couple of alts into the end here. I'm going to start on the weekly, because if you're making new lows in the weekly, nothing else really matters. Just don't touch it. Let's get it down here. I mean, it's not making higher highs on the weekly. I wouldn't touch this one. And it sucks because sometimes you look at something and you're like, oh, the fundamentals, oh, this and that. And I used to hate it. And then maybe low time frame, there's a cool setup. Maybe even today it's got a big green candle. But then somebody would shit on me. Oh, the weekly's just down. I'm like, just leave it. I mean, a couple weeks ago, the weekly printed its lowest print ever. So it is only going down. What I would want to see before I got interested in something like this is for it to maybe it bottoms here. And then it rallies a bit, and then it comes and it makes a higher low, and then it rallies a bit, and then you say, okay, I have a weekly W. I have evidence on the chart that at a higher time frame like the weekly, we are seeing a reversal in trend. And oftentimes, the best uptrends come from long, drawn-out bases. So this thing could take a while. And the cool thing is, if we just agree that we don't give a fuck about any one particular asset, is that there's a bunch of assets out there that already look like this. They've already got the big long trough. They're already starting to see ramping up buy volume. They're already starting to break out. One that comes to mind that I don't have a position in, but is a great example of that, is DYDX. Already came down, made its epic super lowest low, and broke out, and kind of now back in its reload zone. So it's actually probably in a pretty good spot. It's almost like this is fast forward on Reef a year later if it was bullish. It would just do this for like a year and then break out and then chill, and then break down. And this reload zone after a weekly W breakout is usually a very sweet spot to think about buying stuff. Lastly, Near. Well, look at that. I already had that on there. So it's a little better, certainly better than Reef. Still not really a weekly W in the sense that it made lower lows, broke out, and then just kind of trickled down. So I think this would be like the really high time frame signal, and then break out of that, and then find your higher low, kind of like Stargate did fairly recently. So yeah, there's something to be said about that. Stargate looks good, by the way. Anyways, yeah, so like you could take shots here. I mean, big blast and buy volume, possibly some bullish divergence on that weekly. Yeah, confirm bull div here. MACD not as bearish. So there's something to be said if you want, if like, okay, near is for sure in my list of things I need to own. This is not a bad place to be thinking about it. It's a little premature by some measures, but it's certainly at a risk adjusted window. Pretty fat risk. I mean, it's a 24% risk window, but your upside, it becomes everything. If that's the bottom, and if you factor in, or if you account for the idea that like, if we get this next cycle, or when, but I always say if, just so I don't want to jinx it, but when we get this, if we get this next cycle, you can assume that the top 100 cryptos should on average be a higher market cap than they were last time. That's the trend that we've been seeing. There's no real reason to expect it to change. And so a lot of this stuff could be left in the dust. So when you think about it that way, some assets like this, again, I think this one's a little premature, but who knows? If you're risking 25%, you want to be at least getting a gain of 75% to make it worth your time, whatever that looks like. And then, of course, by then you could have a free position pretty soon after this breakout. And then, who knows? It won't look like that, but yeah. So near is probably a pretty sweet buy if I'm willing to sell it if it breaks these lows. Personally, I think it needs more time. That's my high level on that one. So yeah, Bitcoin still trading minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, 7 days a week, 24/7, 365 for what, 13 years now, 12 years. So be sure to take care of yourself. I've been back with a personal trainer, I guess I was a couple years ago. We're working with a personal trainer, trying to get myself in shape. It's working great. It only takes 3 days a week. And if you're smarter and more disciplined, you can probably do that yourself. But I decided to offset that mental burden and hire a personal trainer for an amount that I sometimes lose in under 12 seconds while trading. So it seemed like a pretty good trade-off. And so far it's going great. So let's flip back from charts. As we wrap up the show, I think, some key takeaways today, really about focusing on process, focusing on, recognizing your strengths as a trader. Are you good in high intense moments? Are you better served waiting for larger swings, patience, all that stuff? There is a lot to be said for getting to know thyself as a trader. And I know right now I'm struggling with closing trades early. So I've created my trade closing protocol, and I have a feeling that just that piece of paper, if I actually do it, before I impulsively reach to click to close something or open something or whatever, I go through and ask myself those 3 questions out loud. I have a feeling my error rate is going to drop through the floor. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I'll keep you updated as we get into it week over week. Now, my kids may be coming home Thursday or Friday, so I may not be back on for a week or two. I have no idea what life was going to be like with 3 babies. But stay tuned. I know there are some people coming live on Thursday in the pit. I just may not be there, but we'll see. If I can be there, I will be there. Until next time, whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. Take care, guys. I have a feeling the producer is not here. And now I'm wondering if we're even live. Take care, guys. Yeah. Always a pleasure, sir. I hope that helps.